You're watching Morning in the Mountains on the Mountain Fun Life channel. Hi, I'm Frank Murphy, and today we are talking about art of the most interesting variety. This is Heather Wolfe, who's an artist who paints dogs and paints weddings predominantly.
Yes, it is both two happy things.
Exactly. All right, so you realized at some point that people love their pets and they would want a picture.
Yeah. I'm kind of going after people in their weakest parts, which is they love their dogs and then they love their weddings.
So if you have a dog and you wanted to have Heather paint it, you do it in a different way.
Yeah.
It's not standard, just I'm going to draw a picture of your pet. How do you draw your pet?
Right. So my pet portraits are a little different than the painting that's behind us today. It is a collage mixed media. So it's handmade papers from all over the world that I use. Paint on top of it to kind of blend and transition. So it's a mixed media collage, and it's a replica of their pet based off of a photo.
When I bring you my pet, how do you decide what kind of texture to use for a Siberian Husky versus an English Bulldog versus a Chihuahua?
Right, that's a great question. So I have hundreds of papers, and I kind of look like a hoarder when you get into my studio because it's I go after the texture, the color, and I want it to actually look like the feel of the pet's fur.
So it doesn't actually feel like the pet.
Some of it's three-dimensional, some of it's textured.
But it looks like the feel.
Some of it actually feels like the feel. So I have faux furs. PETA, don't come after me. Faux furs. I don't use the real deal, but some of it could be fuzzy, and then some of it's just textured. There's a difference between an implied texture and an actual texture.
Yeah.
So something can look like a texture with a pattern.
Sure.
I love that. But then some things actually are embossed with a three-dimensional texture. If you ran your fingers across the top of the surface, you'd feel
I think that's the ones that you've shown me.
Yeah.
All right, now you also went to the biggest dog show.
Yes, the Westminster Dog Show in New York City. So 7 years ago, I started doing my pet portraits. And then 2016, somebody said, hey, you should look into the Westminster.
Yeah.
And it was a juried exhibition. Like, you had to submit your portfolio and then get approved, and only like 20-something vendors were allowed to come. This is Valentine's week in New York City. This is the largest dog show of the year.
And you got in.
And I got in.
Nice.
And so it went from being part-time, local, regional, just friends and family to...
big time.
I sold out my calendar for the entire year in a 3-day weekend.
Just on pets.
Just on pets, specifically dogs. Because you go to a dog show, where you usually get
my
more
tortoise
dogs.
would not be a candidate.
So when you're at the dog shows, and if you have like a Labradoodle, that's like a no-no. So you have to say, I rescued. I'm a good girl. I rescued this dog. And then you get the, oh, good. Bless you.
Yeah, everything's AKC.
Everything
purebred with
standard.
Lineage. Who's the sire? Who's the dam?
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah. You know what's crazy about that is that, they spend $200,000 on these dogs a year just for boarding, training, handling, all the show entries. And they don't make a penny back. When you win these shows, like Westminster, you don't win anything. You get a cool ribbon, which is huge, and you get this giant statue, which is huge, but no money.
Really? Not even
shows,
on they put the winners of the horse races out to stud. They would do that with the dog.
That's what it is. They're studding.
All right.
So that's where you make your money back. Because if, I had the honor to do CJ. He was the German Shorthair Pointer from 2016 Best in Show. He is going to make his money back from his studying.
But they don't all do.
Well, once you get to that caliber of you're showing and you're winning, your dog is going to stud for so much more.
Right. We're talking to Heather Wolfe. I just had an idea. You've got these dogs who are going to make money, doing what dogs do. You could have dog weddings. And, and paint those, because the other thing you do that is absolutely fascinating to me, and I love this because of the high pressure involved, is you go to an event, mostly a wedding, the most important day of someone's life, and you're there with a blank canvas, and like the courtroom artist of weddings, you capture that image. And it also occurred to me as I'm looking behind me at this picture that so many of my photographer friends, I've got a lot of wedding photographer friends, and they are furious about cell phone cameras and social media and people getting in the way of the shot and jumping down the aisle of the wedding. And it occurred to me that it doesn't matter for you because you just pretend they're not there and don't paint them.
That's right. That's one of the cool things about being a painter versus if I was capturing something like with a camera. What's there is going to be captured with the camera. But with the painting, I can eliminate and add and rearrange.
Yeah.
I just had a wedding the other day, and the way that the terraces were laid out, you couldn't see everything. Like a photograph could not capture the entire ground, the venue. But me, I was like, well, I'm just going to take this bit of this piece. I'm going to stick it over here in the left corner. I'm going to take this part. And so the cake all of a sudden is in the picture.
Yeah.
And then I switched out some chairs and rearranged some flowers because just the angle that I was sitting at, I didn't see that in real life. So it's like you're creating your reality.
But if you go back into art history, didn't some of the old masters in the olden days, I mean, I'm talking the olden days, like the 1000s and the 1200s and the 1400s, weren't they painting events and capturing events, but in a way that they had to maybe add in somebody who was late or had died?
Because the paintings took so long,
well, you know
then
what I
they
mean.
died. Yeah, no, that's totally true.
You paint a family tree and such.
Yeah, no, that's totally true. I feel like it's a new concept to us. Like, you go on site and you paint live weddings. I've never heard of that.
Right.
And then when you go back into history, that's how moments were captured because
So you're doing,
film wasn't available, and this has been around for ages, but we just didn't. We just don't use it this way.
I've looked at your website, and you've given me some postcards and things, and I've shared them with other artists, family, and friends who are fascinated by this. They love it. When you're painting a wedding or an event, it doesn't have to be a wedding. I mean, you could do a charity auction, for example, which I want to hook you up with. But is your detail varied depending on how you feel? Are some of them more precise with facial recognition or facial features?
Yeah. So when I'm on site, I will get on site a little early and I'll paint in the background because I want the guests to arrive.
What do you mean when you say paint in the background?
Yeah,
you don't mean that you're standing in the background. You mean you're going to put the background.
So like in this image behind us, I would have been painting in the grass, the sky, and the trees because the guests haven't arrived.
So you add those
yet.
to the canvas.
Yes.
Okay.
So when the guests get there, they're not like, this is totally blank, and I want them to have somewhat of an idea of what's going on.
Yeah.
And then as the night's evolving, I'm adding in all these details. And they're like, I was sitting next to this person. When are you going to paint me in? And then so it's like this interactive thing. And they're like,
cool.
And I even let them, this is a lot of fun. And later throughout the night, I'm a little less hesitant because people are sipping wine. But I can give them a loaded brush with the color. And then I say, put the brush mark right here. So it's interactive with the guests.
And
they get to be a part of it too. But refined details like facial features, what you were just asking about, that's something that I do in the studio once I get back.
Because not everybody wants that.
That's
like the one behind us, it looks kind of like a, what would you call that? Like a Monet or one of those guys,
yes,
impressionist. Okay.
Yes, which that's my favorite style. That's, I think, the most, the style that I'm most drawn to, but also it's very easy because it looks, I use the word painterly.
So take that, Monet.
Well, Monet is the impressionist.
Yours is the easiest. Which one, Manet? Which one is it?
Monet and Manet, they're two different guys, but they have very similar names.
Okay, which is which?
Well,
which
they're
is the
both
one who paints like that?
They both are.
Okay.
I mean, that's like two people, the same style, very similar names, just a letter different. They fought all the time.
Well, there's a lot more we can learn about Heather Wolfe Art, and I follow you on Facebook, which is called that, right? Heather Wolfe Art.
Yes.
Wolf with an E.
Yes.
So what else is the best way to find you?
I also have an Instagram account, and then my website, heatherwolfeart.com. And then also my contacts are on there through email, and you can reach out to me.
Wonderful, but your calendar's pretty full, so you got to plan ahead.
Yes, it is. It is filling up. I'm already 5 into the next year, which you can't believe how many people plan so far. I had a 3-week engagement. I'm like, let's just get married. But there's some people that literally will take a couple of years.
Oh yeah,
because they want it to be that Pinterest perfect wedding, and it takes a lot of time. But there are some dates. It's our football season that makes our weekends in the fall. I mean, the people are fighting over.
If you're a Vols
weekends.
fan, you should commission Heather to go paint you in your seats at Neyland Stadium.
with your cheering pom poms. Yeah,
that'd be awesome.
It would.
Do you prefer to work from a photograph or from a live scenario?
That's a great question. I'm able to do both.
Okay.
It is a little bit more budget friendly if you want me to paint from your photo. And
Right.
if that moment has come and gone, I'm already married, or I wish I knew about this when, I can paint from your photo. But then also I've loved to paint from the live event. So either way, you can do both.
Well, thank you, Heather Wolfe. I
Thank you
appreciate
for having me.
your being here. It's a pleasure to get to know you and learn more about your art. And you can find out more at heatherwolfeart.com. I'm Frank Murphy. This is Morning in the Mountains on the Mountain Fun Life channel. We'll be back with more right after this.